Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast. This is Bruce Hutchin, host and executive producer. Each week you will hear tips, techniques, strategies, and personal stories from some of the best and funniest whitetail hunters in North America. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do, tell a friend on social media. If not, tell me and I'll make it better. Thanks for listening, folks. This is Whitetail Rendezvous, episode number 401. Bryon Oldham joins us today, and he's with gutmytag.com. And he has an app that goes on smartphones. It's called Point Hunter app. It's up on Apple and Google. What does Bryon do? Well, he just helps you keep track of your preference points. Make sure you know what you're doing and how you're doing it. So you all in one place. He's got a great app that lets you know when, where, and how you can utilize your preference points. Think of it, it's a hunting organizer for him. And one thing about Bryon that I really liked on the show was that it's all about the kids. He's really into taking kids hunting. You know, I really draw more tags a year than I hunt every year. I love taking my kids or any kids and will turn in my own tags to take kids, nieces, and friends of friends. So sit back and listen to a guy who really enjoys the hunt, but especially watching somebody have the adventure of a lifetime. Welcome to another interesting episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is Bruce Hutchin, your host, and we're headed out west. Why? Because I ran into Bryon Oldham that has a great app. I'm just going to call it an app, and he's going to tell us about how he can help you, DIY hunter, whatever, find some great whitetail spots in the West. Bryon, welcome to the show. Bryon, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Well, I'm excited, and you know, it's so hard these days to decipher all the state regulations. And living in Colorado as I do, you know, I apply for different states every so often, and man, it's like the tax code, you know. And you know, I ran across you and Bryon. What's so special about what you do with your Point Hunter app?
Well, just keeps track of people that have point systems in the West to get tags. And when you apply for a lot of years, then it helps your odds to draw the tags, and it reminds you to apply, right? And then it tells you if you drew. So the basic gist is get in for the hunts, and maybe you apply for the very best tags. Or what I even like to do more is take the kids hunting, and it'll tell you where to apply for kids. For lots of Western states are trying to get kids into hunting, so it's lots less expensive to apply. And hey, we have a good time taking the kids hunting.
Well, that's great. Now, how did you come up with this method to help people keep things organized?
I was doing it for all my nieces and nephews on paper, and it was too much work. So I wrote a program to do it. I mean, that's really how it came. It just was, I did it, and then other people saw it, and I had to make it a product. It wasn't ever kind of intended ever to be a product from the start. It was just solve my own problem.
Well, and good for you. And, you know, we are Whitetail Rendezvous, so we're going to focus on whitetails in the West. And you were telling me in the warm-up that northern Idaho or sections of Idaho have just a lot of whitetails. Why is that? Why is so many whitetails up in Idaho?
I actually don't absolutely know why. I just know there are, and I know that there's lots of areas you don't even have to apply. You can actually buy over-the-counter tags and go hunting, and there's lots of public land, a lot of land in the West. There's like a farm field, but the hills by it is, public Forest Service or BLM land, and the animals will go into the fields to feed, and then they'll go back onto public ground to, get the cover the whitetails definitely need to feel secure. And the hay fields or grain fields are good feed, and it makes for lots of good hunting because there's lots of deer. I don't know why the whitetail sometimes in the West isn't as thought of as big as a trophy as mule deer or elk. So maybe that's why it's such good hunting, is there's just not as many guys who go after the whitetail.
Now, what states are we talking about that you cover helping people find great tags for great whitetails?
So any state that has whitetails, we will tell you about the special draws. We don't, if it's just an over-the-counter tags, most of the time we don't actually talk about those. We just want people to get into the draws that the government agencies has to draw the tags. So there is every state that has a draw, resident or non-resident, that you can put in the system and say, remind me about, I care about Kansas and Iowa and Pennsylvania. And it would only tell you about those three states. So you just get told where the places that you're interested in hunting, and it'll remind you to apply. Because when you apply, the thing is, we really do want the very best tags, right?
Mm-hmm.
And hunting's limited. So often the government agencies limit the tags, and they put them in a drawing, is how you get the tags.
Now in Iowa, for archery, it might take 4 years. Muzzleloader or shotgun might only take a couple of years. Now, do you cover Iowa?
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
It'll look up, the app will look up your points, tell you, remind you to apply, and then tell you if you drew.
Okay, so basically,
you don't have to go onto the state website.
So basically, what your app does is I get to load it with all my preference points here in Colorado. I got 13, mule deer preference points. So I would put that into that app, and then it would tell me which are the best places to apply for with that amount of numbers or preference points.
No. So it's not like that at all. First, you don't ever put your points in. There's no place to type them in. What you do is you type in your personal information, and it looks it up off the state websites and tells you your points. So it actually reads the state websites to do it. You don't have to, you just type in the information and know that, I'm not going to sell that information to anybody else. That's never happening. It's just information for you and your family, right? The app will let you put in whoever you want to keep track of your Iowa points. And, there's some states like South Dakota, you don't have points for whitetails or mule deers. You have points for West River deer and East River deer and the Black Hills deer. I mean, there's different areas, and you actually have points per area. And so it looks up all those for you. That's what it does. That's how it looks up and tells you if you drew as well. So you don't have to run to the state to see if you drew.
How about Kentucky? Elk draw is coming up. Would you cover that with your app?
I don't look up your points in Kentucky yet. In the East, there's only, I believe, Pennsylvania and Florida that it looks up your points. But I do the reminders. I will make sure you apply for every state. So I do look up your points in Pennsylvania and Florida.
Well, I find this interesting because there's a lot of ways to keep track, of your points, and GoHunt.com does a great job of letting people know, where you can use your points and best points. And there's a lot of companies out there, but yours seems real simple, and it's a simple device that anybody listening, should check it out. And so, where would they go to get more information?
Well, mostly the Apple or Google Play Store, you can do it. But the main thing for me to be on the show is I want to help kids get hunts. Dads know and take their kids on hunts that are fantastic. And the deal about it is there's lots of good hunts to draw for in the West. That I don't know if they go undersubscribed, but if it takes a guy's odds or an adult's odds are 1 in 25, like we were talking Idaho, there's a lot of times where the kid odds are 1 in 3. And if you can go drive around and see $20 in a day in some of those areas.
Wow. So how do you get that information? How do you get those premier areas out to folks? So I'm a grandfather. I want to bring my grandsons up to Idaho to hunt deer. Where do I go?
So the place that's always the best is the state websites tell you. And this is information where you can just look up youth hunts for whitetail in Idaho, and it'll tell you the places to apply. But, I've personally done this with my own kids. Now, we didn't shoot whitetails. We shot mule deer because we often do that, or we see them, and my kids like that. But there's youth hunts for Unit 54, for example, and the odds are fantastic to draw a tag, and it's very inexpensive. under $40 for your license and tag to take your kid hunting in Idaho.
But the DOW or whoever's in charge of state agency, they're not going to tell me, hey, you want to go up to this drainage or you want to hunt Montana to Milk River, whatever. They're not going to tell you specific places. Now, do you do that?
No, I don't. If you talk to me like this, sure. That's why I said I tell you some of the units that I know, but I'm not expert in all the things. But for sure, you talking Milk River in Montana. There's a lot of really good whitetail hunting there, and the tags aren't too hard to draw. Although this year it wasn't 100% draw, even for you to buy the license, so then you could apply for the better areas. So there's places like you say, Go Hunt, Hunt and Fool, Epic. There really are a lot of different places to look up the odds of where to go, and they'll tell you their opinion of what's best. And I surely have my opinions too. I'm not arguing that I even know. What I do know, though, is that if you apply for the good areas, after a while, you start drawing tags. And
yeah,
it's pretty fun when you have tags for the best areas.
Yeah, apply. That, Garth Carter used to talk about that. If you don't apply, you're never going to draw a tag. And, it's big business because good places to find a hunt are hard to come by. And like in Colorado, I used to hunt one place with 2 tags with my archery. Now it's 22. That a lot of time's going by, but, it's just the good areas. Everybody knows it. And so they put in, and it's a once in a lifetime hunt. That's what it is. So getting back to...
Yeah, well, I actually believe that there's lots of places that are publicized that make the draw odds really hard. Just like you say, used to take 2 points, now it takes 22. Well, that is a once in a lifetime tag. But there are a lot of places that I don't know what people consider to be trophy. I mean, if you have to shoot a 200-inch whitetail or a 200-inch mule deer, then you might be waiting a few years to draw that. But that's not the case to shoot a 160 buck, which is a trophy. There are lots of places where you can still buy tags and shoot 160 class bucks or draw with 1 or 2 points.
Okay, but you're not telling people where those places are. Is that correct?
No.
Okay.
I'm not. I mean, if you talk to me, I'd give you my opinion.
Sure. No,
the problem is that it's hard to know all those, and the magazines do a pretty darn good job of trying their best to do it, but it's hard to know.
So really, what you have and you created for your own family is an organizer that you go to one place, you hit your smartphone, and it'll tell you, the number of preference points, and you got to decide what game management unit you're going to use those in. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
And then instead of going the DOW or getting on their website, the app will just say, hey, you're successful or you weren't successful. Is that correct?
That is correct. Today we looked up and a bunch of guys in our system drew sheep tags in Wyoming, including my brother. But sure, those are probably harder than any whitetail tag to draw.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did it and told us.
And that's kind of fun. It took me a long time to get an archery tag in Colorado, and unfortunately I didn't fill that tag, but that's okay. It was a heck of a hunt, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. And, who knows what the future will hold on that. But having said that, so I'm trying to get my arms around, so the listeners are going, okay, so I'm going to get Point Hunter app, and it's going to keep everything organized for me. So I have everything in one place, and I'm going to be able to check all my preference points for basically everything that I have. And then I'm still going to have to fill out the paperwork to the DOW or, Department of Fish and Game. I'm going to still have to send those applications in with my money. Is that correct?
Yes. There's a bunch of guys. We have a system that actually applies for people too. And lots of the companies you mentioned earlier use our system to apply for people. Because if it's too hard, then they use it to apply. But it's not in the app because it's still a little bit too complicated, too many power of attorney things you have to assign. But yeah, there is a way, simplified way. What we teach people to do is make a hunt plan and say, here's what I want to do. I want a 160 whitetail, and I want to go every year, and I want to go guided, or I want to go unguided. then these groups, there's a company called Rolling Bones that will do this hunt plan for you and apply for you and be a member. It costs $150. Or Hunting Fool has it all in a magazine. They charge you $100. But there's
and GoHunt.com.
They don't do the application
Insider,
for that.
You know, Go Hunt Insider, where you
Right.
get all the research. I think they're the best in the West because I wrote for them, and so I'm prejudiced. But they'll tell you, you know,
No, but they tell you a lot of stuff, and you put in
great
the areas,
research.
and then you can look at what you want to know. Right, absolutely.
Great research. If you want a 160 buck in Colorado, it'll tell you how many points, what game units to put in, and all the rest is basically on you. So let's summarize here. So if you're a whitetail hunter sitting in Iowa, you want to hunt other states, multiple states, then you would go to Point Hunter app on Apple or Google, download the app, and start going to work. Is that pretty much how simple it is?
Yeah, and then it would tell you to start applying. I mean, there's lots of other really cool whitetails that people don't even know about. This little whitetail called the Coues deer, and if you're a local, it's called a Coues. Yeah, it really is, and there you can put in for the very best ones and use your deer points in Arizona to hunt a Coues deer. And they're pretty fun, really neat, and they're a desert whitetail that's what I would call diminutive in size.
I call
and
them
a
the
real
size of a
trophy is
rabbit.
100-incher.
I call them the size of a rabbit. I remember when I saw my first Coues deer, and I'm looking, and the guy goes, it's right there. I'm going, what? It was smaller than a goat. I mean, it was shocking, and they're great. It's a great sport, folks. I'm not minimizing that, but you know, after seeing elk and big Saskatchewan whitetails, I'm going, oh my goodness, it's hard hunting just to find them. It's hard hunting. It's great hunting. They're in great terrain. You can glass them from miles away, and well, not miles away. You got to be closer than that. But I'm saying all that. It's a great deer to hunt, and they're a lot of fun to hunt because you know, they can be right under your feet, and you'll never see them. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the one thing that I think is the hardest to do with a Coues deer is actually shoot it because they're so small. Yeah, and a lot of times there's a lot of wind in the desert. So I think everything you said about the Coues deer is right, but they're surely fun to hunt. And there's tags to be available. There's over-the-counter tags, right? And guys don't know about that kind of stuff, so it's pretty advantageous. And there's lots of places where if you're go guided, you really can draw every year in northeastern Wyoming and southwestern Montana or close to every year and go guided. And they have ranches that are very large. And you can go shoot a lot of really nice whitetails. But it is a different game. You most of the time can't just call these ranchers or outfitters. You actually have to apply. And if you apply, then you get the tags and you can go hunting. And it limits the number of hunters by a lot that you have to apply for the tags. It makes the hunting better.
Yes, it does. And one thing I liked about when we talked before getting on the show and now on the show, you know, you're focused on your kids. I'm focused now on my grandkids and having them have some of the fun things that I've done. And it's a little different because you just can't go knocking on doors on a ranch and say, you know, you mind if I pitch a tent and go hunting? Used to be that way, not that way anymore for the most part. So it takes a little bit more work, listeners, but it still can be done out west, as you said, Byron. There's millions and millions of acres. When we talk about that, you know, realistically, there's plenty of places out west to hunt without being on a private ranch. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I believe most of the Coues deer hunting is public land, BLM, and in the northern Idaho, I'm pretty sure percentage-wise, besides Alaska, Idaho has the most public land for against the private, and there's tons of it. There's a lot of really great whitetail hunting in Montana that's on public land. I mean, fantastic. We could go to North and South Dakota and talk about the Black Hills, which is all public. And if you're willing to walk 3 or 4 miles in those grasslands, there's whitetails, and it's really a fun, fantastic hunting. Although it's different than what most people would think of put your tree stand up whitetail hunting. It's a totally different kind of hunting where a lot of it's spot and stalk whitetail hunting.
And in the Black Hills, there's a tremendous amount of whitetails. I'm not going to say there's booners up there. I've never seen one up there, but there's tremendous amount of whitetail deer on public land. There's no question about it. And, they're taken every single year. And I don't know on the Wyoming side, what a youth ticket cost, tag cost, or on the Dakota side. But in any event, there's plenty of places, and I guess that's what I wanted to bring Byron on the show for. There's plenty of places that you can take your kids out and have a great hunt. No, you're not going to go back to the 70s and 80s because gas costs more. But, I can remember way back when in the 70s when I first headed out west. I mean, we did the whole thing for, I think, $200, and that was license and motels and gas and I just think of those days and you just go, that's never going to happen again, but it's a great memory.
But here's the deal. If the guys don't go out west and hunt some of that public land, they're never going to have the memories. You got to go apply for the tags and go hunt that public land. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
and, if you have to have a 200-inch buck, okay, you might not find him. But there's surely 160s and tons of 140s to be had, and those are pretty bucks.
Yeah, when we were hunting the Powder River, I'm dating, myself the first time we went out there, and we had access on a ranch and brought them some apples from Wisconsin, some potatoes and whatever else, and just neighborly, and we shot, back then I think you could take $2. I don't know, but it was just magic to see so many deer because they're not like the woodlots of Wisconsin. It's just open range, and you can sit on a ridge and go, oh, there's a deer there, there's a deer there, there's a deer there. Oh my goodness, there's deer everywhere. And literally, that's the truth. Now, they weren't booner bucks. I only saw, I think all the time I was hunting that ranch, only one buck that I would say, was exceptional. But every year we went out there and shot a couple bucks, shot a couple of antelope, had a great time, and enjoyed the heck out of it.
I personally have shot. Now, I was on an elk hunt, right? But I had a deer tag in my pocket, and it was a mule deer or a whitetail tag. And I was hunting elk, and a great big whitetail came by. That is a booner buck in Montana that I shot. But it's funny, I wasn't even hunting whitetail. I shot him with my bow at 40 yards. What was funny is I shot him. He ran out into the hayfield, did a big circle, came running back, stopped about 5 yards from where I originally shot him with an arrow. And I put another arrow in him, and he dropped right there, just outside the farmer's field. I was pretty worried because I would have had to go ask him if I could pick him up off that hayfield, right? But he ran off and jumped the fence and stopped right where I needed him to. So there are booner bucks there. Although I'm not the expert on booner bucks by saying that I shot one, I have to admit that sometimes hunting's more luck than skill.
Yeah, that's for sure. And it's the memories. We both of us just shared some memories, and so folks, check out Byron. And I think your website is, what's your website there, Byron?
It's Got My Tag.
Okay, Got My Tag.
It'll tell you a little bit about where to go and what to do, but that's not. I just want people to do it. The app is what it is much better for hunters because it lets you keep track of your points, your kids' points, your buddies' points, and it's hard to remember all their personal information, right? To always put it in the States, and it's all right there in one little place. You don't have to have your file folders for when you do apply. It makes it quite simple.
And what does that cost? What does that app cost?
$1.99, although I intend to make it free here real soon. I'm going to give it away.
Wow. So, Byron, if they went to gutmytag.com, they would get directed right to Point Hunter, or did they just go to the Apple Store or the Google Store?
Sure, you could go to gotmytag.com and click on it, and it would take you to the store.
Okay.
And the reason the app's nice is you don't have to have a name or a password to cover your information, right? Got My Tag has it on a website, but you always have to log back in to keep your information all secure, and you have to remember a name and a password. If you just get the app, you just click it, and it's always there. There's nothing you ever have to do after the first time you type in your information. It always tells you. And then you also, on your phone, then you get contacted how you want to, right? I'm not spamming you. If you want to be told if you drew in a text or an in-app message or email, it just lets you set it up so it runs how you want it to run. And, we do tell people things like, I want to go back to the kids, if I may.
Sure.
I put in for a lot of years, but then I really want to go hunting with the kids, the grandkids, the nieces and nephews, and I'll save up my points, and then you share them, right? So let's say I have 10 points, and an antelope hunt costs 5 points to be guaranteed to go in Wyoming. You put them together, and you take the kids with your 10 points for 5, and it's twice as much fun.
Well, Bryon, this has been really informative for me, and I just thank you for taking your time today and giving people a choice to say, hey, this is available, and technology, the digital age we live in. If we can keep things simple, I'm all for simple.
Yeah, it keeps it simple, lets you know, and you don't have to know all the websites if you have the app. That's the nice thing. It just does a bunch of the work for you. Not everything. There's not a thing that cuts your grass and fertilizes it and waters your lawn, but it's a tool that helps you go on great hunts. And hopefully this will help people, and hopefully guys will take their kids or grandkids or their neighbors' kids hunting, because we need it and it makes a difference.
Well, on that end, Bryon, thank you so much from gutmytag.com, Point Hunter app on Apple and Google. Go check it out, folks, because it's a tool. It's a simple tool. And Bryon said, soon, it's not going to cost you anything. So it's another tool to help keep you organized, because days get crazy and you forget dates and everything. This will help you, keep yourself organized. So, sir, on behalf of thousands of listeners across, North America, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hope I helped the hunter out some way, somehow, and they got to get a trophy tag one of these times.
Check out the next show, Jessica Johnson. Hey, a good friend of mine, Donnell Johnson, and Dave Johnson's daughter, and she's going to the University of Denver. And Donnell was sharing with me that she gave a talk about hunting to her journalism class at DU. And she got some really rave reviews. People were asking her, hey, what's hunting all about? And so I got her on the phone to share with us, one, the complexities of hunting out west and applying for tags, but more than that, the environment in which she's in at the university is somewhat neutral. So Jessica Johnson brings it all. She's a great guest, and her mom and dad's own hunt data. And so sit back, relax, and enjoy Jessica Johnson, all about hunting.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.